To understand why Muhammad Ali was willing to lose everything on that April morning, you have to go back 3 years to the night he became champion. February 25th, 1964, Miami Beach. A 22-year-old fighter named Cassius Clay had just shocked the world by defeating Sonny Liston to become heavyweight champion. The next morning, at a press conference, Clay dropped another bomb. He confirmed the rumors that had been swirling for months. He was a member of the Nation of Islam. "I don't have to be what you want me to be," Clay told the stunned reporters. "I'm free to be who I want." 10 days later, Nation of Islam leader Elijah Muhammad gave Clay a new name, Muhammad Ali. It was a name that meant beloved of God in Arabic, but to white America in 1964, it was a rejection, a threat, an act of defiance. Sports columnists who'd praised Cassius Clay's boxing skills now wrote columns dripping with contempt. "I pity Clay and abhor what he represents," wrote Jimmy Cannon, one of the most influential sports writers of the time. The New York Times refused to use his Muslim name in their coverage. Even other black athletes distanced themselves. Floyd Patterson, the former heavyweight champion, said he wanted to fight Ali to reclaim the title for America. But Ali didn't care. For the first time in his life, he was defining himself on his own terms. Not as Cassius Clay, the name given to his great-great-grandfather by the white man who'd enslaved him, but as Muhammad Ali, a free man with a free name. And then came the war. In 1964, the United States military was deeply involved in Vietnam, but most Americans barely noticed. The draft was pulling in young men, but it was mostly poor kids, black kids, kids without college deferments. Muhammad Ali, as the heavyweight champion, had been classified as 1Y, meaning he was available for service only in a national emergency. The military had given him this classification after he'd failed the Armed Forces qualifying test, scoring in the 16th percentile. Ali had joked about it. "I said I was the greatest, not the smartest," he'd laughed. But in early 1966, as the war escalated and the military needed more bodies, the standards changed. Suddenly, Ali's test score was acceptable. In February 1966, Ali was reclassified to 1A, eligible for immediate induction. The news hit Ali at a basketball game. A reporter approached him and told him about the reclassification. Ali's response was immediate and unfiltered. "Man, I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong. No Viet Cong ever called me nigger." Those 21 words changed everything. It wasn't a prepared statement, it wasn't calculated, it was pure Ali, honest, direct, devastating. And it became one of the most famous quotes of the entire Vietnam era. Think about what Ali was saying. Here was America telling him to go fight people on the other side of the world, people who'd never done anything to him. Meanwhile, in his own country, he couldn't eat at certain restaurants, couldn't stay at certain hotels, couldn't even be called by his chosen name by major newspapers. And they wanted him to kill Vietnamese peasants? The backlash was immediate and vicious. Politicians called him a traitor. Veterans groups demanded he be stripped of his title. Death threats poured in. Some newspapers called him to be imprisoned immediately. But Ali had said what millions of young Americans, especially young black Americans, were thinking. The civil rights movement was at its peak. Martin Luther King Jr. was marching. Malcolm X had been assassinated just a year earlier. Cities were burning, and the government was drafting black men to fight for democracy in Vietnam while denying them democracy at home.
Dundee looked into his fighter's eyes. They were red, watering profusely, and Clay clearly couldn't focus on anything. Across the ring, Liston was standing, waiting like a predator sensing wounded prey. Dundee had been in boxing for decades. He'd trained champions. He'd seen dirty tricks before. He knew exactly what had happened. Someone in Liston's corner had used something illegal, and now his fighter was paying the price. The referee was looking over, ready to check on Clay. If Dundee called for a doctor, the fight would be stopped. Clay would lose. His championship dream would be over. And more than that, everyone would say Clay had quit, that he'd talked a big game but couldn't back it up when facing real danger. But there was another option, a terrible, risky option. Dundee grabbed a sponge soaked in clean water and quickly washed Clay's eyes out, doing everything he could to flush away the burning substance. Then he grabbed Clay by the shoulders and looked directly into his unfocused, burning eyes. "This is your night," Dundee shouted over the crowd noise. "You hear me? This is your night. You're faster than him. Just survive this round. Stay away from him, and you'll get him." "I can't see him," Clay protested. "You don't need to see him," Dundee said. "You need to survive him. Now get out there, Big Daddy." And then Dundee did something that boxing people would argue about for decades. He physically pushed Clay off the stool and back toward the center of the ring as the bell for round 5 rang. What happened in the next 3 minutes would become legendary. Cassius Clay entered round 5 completely blind. He couldn't see Sonny Liston. He couldn't see the ropes. He couldn't see the referee. He could only hear the crowd screaming, the sound of feet moving on canvas, the breathing of the most dangerous heavyweight in the world somewhere in front of him. Liston sensed something was wrong. He moved forward, throwing heavy punches, trying to end the fight right there. And several of them landed, big, hard shots that would have dropped most fighters. But Clay's natural defensive instincts took over. Even blind, his body remembered the patterns. When he heard movement to his left, he moved right. When he sensed Liston coming forward, he moved back. His hands stayed up, protecting his face. His feet kept moving, never letting Liston set up completely for a knockout blow. It was like fighting a ghost, Liston's trainer would later say. Even when he couldn't see, we couldn't hit him clean. Clay spent the entire round in survival mode. He clinched when he could, holding on to Liston to buy time for his vision to clear. He threw occasional blind punches just to keep Liston from getting too comfortable. He moved, constantly moved, using the sound of the crowd and his own instincts to avoid being cornered. Several times Liston landed solid punches. Clay's head snapped back, his body absorbed punishment. But he didn't go down. He wouldn't go down. Not like this, not because of something illegal, not before he proved he was more than just a loudmouth kid. The crowd was going insane. They didn't know Clay was blind, but they could see something was wrong, could see that Clay was fighting differently, more desperately, and they could see that somehow, impossibly, he was surviving. As the round went on, 3 minutes that felt like 3 hours to Clay, something miraculous began to happen. His vision started to come back, blurry at first, like looking through water, then clearer. The burning didn't stop, but he could see shapes, movement, light.
He could see Sonny Liston. When the bell rang to end round 5, Clay stumbled back to his corner. Dundee immediately went to work on his eyes again, flushing them with water. "Can you see?" Dundee asked. Clay blinked several times. His eyes were still burning, still watering, but he could see clearly now. "Yeah," Clay said, and suddenly his voice changed from panic to fury. "Yeah, I can see, and now I'm gonna get him." What happened in round 6 was pure violence. Clay came out like a man possessed. All the fear, all the panic, all the rage at being sabotaged transformed into focused aggression. His punches came in rapid combinations, left jab, straight right, left hook, over and over. Liston's head snapped back with each impact.
The champion tried to fight back, but something was broken inside him. He'd thrown everything at Clay in round 5, his best punches against a blind opponent, and Clay had survived. Now Clay was punishing him for it. Blood poured from Liston's cut. His face swelled. His legendary stare was gone, replaced by something boxers fear more than anything: doubt. By the end of round 6, Liston was in bad shape. His corner worked frantically between rounds, trying to stem the bleeding, trying to restore their fighter's confidence. But Liston was sitting on that stool, and for the first time in his professional career, he looked defeated. When the bell rang for round 7, Liston didn't get up. He stayed on his stool, claiming his shoulder was injured. His corner didn't protest. The referee walked over, examined Liston briefly, and then turned to the ring announcer. The winner, by technical knockout, Cassius Clay. For a moment, there was shocked silence, and then pandemonium. Clay jumped up, literally leaping in the air, screaming at the top of his lungs. He ran to the ropes, pointing at the reporters who'd picked against him, at the crowd that had doubted him. "I shook up the world," he screamed into the cameras. "I'm the king of the world. I'm pretty. I'm a bad man. I shook up the world." The reporters rushed the ring. Clay, still high on adrenaline and fury, grabbed their microphones. "I told you I was the greatest. I told you. All of you who picked Liston, you were wrong. I'm the greatest thing that ever lived. I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old." In the chaos, few people initially understood what had really happened, but over the following days, the truth emerged. Multiple boxing insiders confirmed that something caustic had been on Liston's gloves and body. Whether it was intentional sabotage or a reckless use of coagulant didn't matter. It had nearly cost Clay the fight. Clay's ring doctor, Ferdy Pacheco, later wrote, "Somebody had to have juiced Liston's gloves. That wasn't just regular coagulant. Cassius's eyes were burning for hours after the fight." Author and New Yorker editor David Remnick, in his book, King of the World, interviewed multiple people who were there that night. The consensus: Liston or his corner had used an illegal substance, whether by direct intent or by negligent application. But here's what makes this story more than just a tale of cheating and survival. Here's why this moment mattered more than just another boxing match. At 22 years old, Cassius Clay became the heavyweight champion of the world, not just because he was fast or skilled or confident. He became champion because when faced with an impossible situation, fighting blind against the most dangerous man in boxing, he refused to quit. He could have stopped. Dundee could have called for a doctor. No one would have blamed them. Instead, Clay fought 3 minutes while unable to see, surviving through instinct, courage, and pure will.
But Muhammad Ali knew it was wrong in 1967. He knew it when most of America supported the war. He knew it when refusing to fight cost him everything. He knew it, and he stood by his conviction. In 1974, Ali regained his heavyweight title by defeating George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle. He became the first boxer to win the heavyweight championship 3 times. But his greatest victory wasn't in the ring. In 1996, Ali was awarded the Olympic gold medal he'd supposedly thrown away after being refused service at a restaurant in 1960. At those same Olympics in Atlanta, a trembling Ali, now ravaged by Parkinson's disease, lit the Olympic torch in front of billions of viewers. The crowd gave him the longest standing ovation in Olympic history. In 2005, President George W. Bush awarded Ali the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor in America. At the ceremony, Bush said,
Only a few men truly earned the title the greatest. He's one of them. The same government that had stripped his title, banned him from boxing, and convicted him of a felony was now celebrating him as an American hero. But perhaps the most telling moment came years after Ali's stand, when a reporter asked a young veteran of the Iraq War what he thought about Muhammad Ali. "The brave one," the veteran said. "He stood up when it wasn't popular. He lost everything. We all know now that Vietnam was wrong, but Ali knew it then. That takes real courage." That's the legacy of April 28, 1967. It's not just about Muhammad Ali. It's about the courage to stand up for what you believe in, even when the whole world tells you you're wrong. It's about the difference between being popular and being right. It's about the price of freedom, not just political freedom, but the freedom to be yourself, to follow your conscience, to say no when everyone else is saying yes. Muhammad Ali lost his title, lost his license, lost years of his career, and lost millions of dollars, but he kept something more valuable: his integrity. "I'm free," Ali had said when he joined the Nation of Islam. On April 28, 1967, standing in that government building in Houston, refusing to step forward, Muhammad Ali proved it. They could take his belt, his license, his money, his years, but they couldn't take his freedom. They couldn't make him do something his conscience told him was wrong. And 50 years later, we understand that the man who refused to fight turned out to be the bravest fighter of them all. If this story of courage and conviction moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear about the price of standing up for what's right. Have you ever had to choose between doing what's popular and doing what you believe is right? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to ring that notification bell for more amazing true stories about the moments that defined history's greatest figures.